Are you looking for a school that nurtures your child's academic, spiritual, and personal growth? Andalusia Academy International School, where your child's future is our priority. We offer comprehensive education levels, kindergarten, Pearson I Primary Certificate, secondary and Pearson IGCSE certificates.
We are a school that emphasizes in the Deen and Dunya. It's integrated in that on the side of Islamic studies, we have Quran, we have Hadith, we have Arabic. And then of course in the secular side, we have all the subjects.
We focus on student-centered learning, where we engage our students in different levels. Other than that, we have very innovative teachers who help to cultivate creative thinking, problem solving, which are very, very key skills in our learners, not only in school, but also for their future.
Hello everyone, my name is Aisha Mohammed and I'm a student under Andalusia International School. I've been here for the past 5 years and I'm in year 11 right now, and my experience in this school so far has been amazing.
Admissions are available. Visit us today. We are located in Nairobi, South Sea, Andalusia Academy International School, where your child's future is our priority.
Good afternoon again, welcome. My name, as you can recall, is Miss Vivian Elizabeth, and I'm here with Horizon TV, virtual teaching at Andalusia Academy. So I'm going to be your English teacher for the day, and I hope you enjoy. Well, quick recap. Last lesson we were looking at punctuation, where we introduced punctuation marks, and we gave quite a number of punctuation marks being used. We also defined punctuation, and we also introduced the first example of a punctuation mark, which is a full stop. And we were able to look at how it is being used, and it was very clear that it is being used at the end of a sentence that is making a statement. Now, last week we concluded and said that we will be looking at a comma and apostrophe, which is going to help us differentiate in terms of their symbol and also in terms of their uses. So the first one we are beginning with is a comma. And you don't actually need the definition of a comma. You just need to understand its symbol, which is there. It falls below the lower line of your sentence. And we are also going to look at the uses, how we use them. There are several uses of a comma, but we are going to look at the most important ones that we need in our writing in terms of sentences as well as paragraphs. So the first use of a comma, the very first use, which is really important and commonly used, number one, a comma is used to separate items in a list. So that is one thing that you need to understand, the first main use of a comma. If you have items, let's say you're packing, a few weeks ago, students were packing their back to school items and they actually needed materials and everything. So if you're writing a list and you're writing them in a continuous and a prose form in terms of sentence or a paragraph, you will need to separate your items using a comma. For example, let's use back to school things that as students you normally buy or you normally include in your list when you're getting ready. So for example, in a sentence, Now, look at our sentence we have here. When I went to the mall, I bought pens, books, a ruler, pen case, and a mathematical set. So we are having the sentence here with items in a list. So these are the things that you bought, and therefore you have to, when you're writing a sentence, you have to separate them in your list using a comma. We have pens, item number 1. We have books, item number 2. We have a ruler. We have a pen case, what you call a pen pouch, and then we have a mathematical set. These are items, several in a list. So between pens and books, there is a comma there. Let me write it clearly so that you're able to see. Between pens and books, there is a comma, clearly written. Then between books and ruler, there is a comma. Between ruler and pen case, there is a comma. And when we are moving from pen case to mathematical set, we are having a comma there. So when you're writing in a long list, you're writing items in a long list, you separate these items using a comma. So that is use number 1. Then you're moving to use number 2. The second use of a comma, we are talking about a comma being used to introduce a pause or to indicate a long pause or a shorter pause in a sentence. So we say, so we have a comma, use number 2, used to indicate a natural pause in a sentence. For example, we are having our sentence here. We're having a sentence, when I visited Vilmont, which is a town, I climbed its longest mountain. So there is a very natural pause here as far as the sentence is concerned. And the natural pause is being indicated in a sentence when written using a comma. So I'll repeat, when I visited Vilmont, the natural pause happens. I climbed its longest mountain. It is unnatural to read this sentence straight away without inserting a comma there when you're speaking, a mental comma, or when you're writing, actually the symbol of the comma. So it's like you're reading, when I visited Vilmont, I climbed its longest mountain. The natural pause is there, regardless of how you say the statement. So you indicate that using a comma over there. That is the second use of a comma. Then we are moving to the third use. So we use comma to set off an introductory words or phrases in a longer sentence. So we say, so it's used to set off an introductory, we missed RY, to set off an introductory word or a phrase in a sentence. This sentence, it can be either compound or it can be what we call the subordinate, sentence with the subordinate clause, which is a complex sentence. For example, Look at our sentence we have here. If I win the lottery. So I'm going to underline the phrase, if I win the lottery, I will use the money to build homes for street families. This sentence has two clauses. We're having the main clause and the subordinate clause. We're having our subordinate clause here. If I win the lottery. This is a subordinate clause. I believe you've been taught subordinate clauses. So you understand that it is natural. We're having if, which is a subordinate conjunction introducing our subordinate clause. The introductory statement or sentence or phrase we have here is if I win the lottery. This is a phrase. And then I will use the money. Let me add the article there. The money to build homes for street families. So we are going to treat this as our introductory phrase to our sentence. So this is another use number 2. And actually, if you look at this sentence, the subordinate phrase or the introductory phrase we're having, it also happens naturally that the pause is there. Regardless, it is there. In your speech, it will happen naturally. In writing, it will show you that you need to put a comma and not a full stop, not a semicolon, not a colon, but a comma. So that is use number 3. Then we are going to look at the last use of a comma. So if usually you know direct speech and indirect speech. So in cases where we are having direct speech, where we have the actual words said by the speaker, there is a way we use comma, and this is how we use it. So on use number 3 as 4, we're going to look at the use of a comma when we are talking about the direct speech in grammar. So we say, we are looking at use number 4, and we have said if you know and understand how to write a direct speech or a quotation, you will realize that we use a comma to separate the actual words said by the speaker, and then we have the reporting phrase. For example, I am teaching, reported the teacher. So in that context, I am teaching, the actual words being said by the teacher, and then the reporting verb, the reporting phrase being separated using a comma, said the teacher. So I'll write it down so that you see. I am teaching, the actual words said by the speaker. We are having a comma. Before you insert the closing quotation marks, they work in 2 pairs. There is pair number 1 here, and then we have pair number 2. We will look at this when we'll be learning quotation marks. But for now, we are paying attention to the comma we have here. So before you insert the other pair of quotation marks, you place a comma. This comma is going to separate the actual words I am teaching from, this is what we call the reporting phrase. Reported the teacher. So that is use number 4 that we have in a comma, among other uses like separating addresses in writing, separating a date from sometimes use date from the month, from the year. There are several minor uses of comma, but these are the 4 main ones that you need to know while you're writing an actual text or a paragraph. So having said all that, let's recap quickly what we have looked at before we move to the next one. We started with the symbol of a comma below the lower line of the book or the paper you're writing on. And then we have the first use, used to separate items in a list. We have example, then we said we underline the items we are separating in that list. Then after each item, we place a comma. Then we are looking at use number 2, used to indicate a natural pause in a sentence. The example is here. When I visited Vilmont, I climbed its longest mountain. Then we are having the third use, used to set off an introductory word or a phrase in a sentence. Example, if I win the lottery, I will use the money to build homes for street families. Then our final major use is used in a quotations or in direct speech to separate the actual words of the speaker from the reporting phrase. And we have our example here. I am teaching. We have said this is the actual words of the speaker, comma, then you enclose with the last pair of quotation marks, reported the teacher. So this is what we mean by it's used to separate the reporting phrase and the actual words by the speaker. So I believe next time you're using a comma, you'll be able to understand its uses. And it's really one of the major punctuation marks that if you want to make your work readable freely, I would advise you to practice using comma in your sentences. Then allow me to move to the next one, which is use of apostrophe. The symbol is confusing, but we are going to understand how it's actually being used. Uses of apostrophe, and the symbol is here. Look at the difference. With the comma, we said it falls below the lower line. Apostrophe flies on top, at the top there of the word you're going to use. So you will see how it's being used as we continue. So this is the symbol. It flies on top. Apostrophe is there. So let's look at the first use of an apostrophe. Placement of some letters in words. So we have used to replace letters sometimes you have two words that you'd like to join and make them one. We call these words contractions. Words that some letters have been omitted and replaced using an apostrophe, we call them contractions. So when I say used to replace letters in words that are being contracted, that is what I mean. For example, we have, mostly we have a pronoun and an auxiliary verb. So one example of a pronoun I'm going to look at my gender and say she. That is the first pronoun. This is a personal pronoun. And then we have auxiliary verb is. These are two words, a pronoun and an auxiliary verb. So I'm just going to write a full sentence. She is coming. Bearing in mind, we are going to look at two main words. We are having she and is, meaning these two words can be contracted and written as one. So how are you going to do it? You're going to do it by the letter you drop. You're going to replace it using an apostrophe. For example, we have she, apostrophe at the top of E, and then you write S. Then we write the final main verb there. She's coming. So there is a letter that has been dropped, or rather omitted, and we are having letter I. We have dropped letter I in the word is, which is auxiliary verb, and we have replaced it with an apostrophe. So this is used to replace letters in words being contracted, the words that have been omitted. You can also say here, it is used in omissions. You can also come and say, for omissions, meaning we are omitting a letter from a word and replacing it using an apostrophe. So it is as simple as it is. Then we are moving to the second use. The second use is apostrophe for possession. So number 2, possession. We all know the meaning of possession, I believe, but for those who might have forgotten, a possession is from the verb to possess. To possess means to own. So I'll write here and say, to show ownership. Possession means ownership, like you own something, something belongs to you. So mostly we use it with nouns. If you look at the previous one, we use apostrophe in pronouns and auxiliary verbs. We can also use them when we have a noun, an actual noun plus an auxiliary verb. I'll show you that later on. But for now, we are looking at nouns, that is a noun that is possessing something. So for example, we have, this pen belongs to Benny. This sentence is still showing ownership, that Benny owns a pen. So the pen belongs to Benny. If you want to show that Benny owns this pen or possesses the pen, you can use apostrophe. Let's see how it's done. We are going to start with identify our noun, and our noun here is Benny. I know we have two nouns. There is also the pen we have here. But you're looking at the noun that can actually own something. And in this case, it is Benny who owns the pen. So we are going to write this sentence, replacing some words using an apostrophe to show possession. So the words we are going to drop is actually belongs to. And we are going to say, this is Benny's pen. And we have an apostrophe. Now, if you look at this apostrophe here, the word, we have introduced a letter. And you can all see it clearly. The letter we have introduced is S. So remember, every time you're using an apostrophe for a singular noun, introduce the apostrophe first and then followed by an S. Benny's pen. If you're using nouns that are in plural, Benny is singular, one person. If you're using now nouns that are in plural, meaning many, you're allowed to introduce the apostrophe after the S. For example, we have the sentence, we have the sentence, these books belong to students. We are having students, a noun in plural. We have the S there. It does not mean you're going to introduce the apostrophe here and add another S. No. Now I'll show you how this is done. We are going to do the same thing we did to this sentence. Get rid of belong to, and then we are going to write in this way. These books, these are first step. Write the word the way it is, the same way we did with Benny. And then just introduce the apostrophe only. You do not need an S here because already it's written in plural. We have the S. It's not like by introducing S, you're making Benny to be plural. No, we are introducing S to accommodate the apostrophe here to show possession. In students, there is an exception where we do not add S. If the nouns we are looking at are written in plural already, we simply add an apostrophe up there. I believe that is clear. These are the two major uses of apostrophe. You can do research, find others minor uses, but these are the main ones that you need. Next time you're writing a contraction here, understand where you're supposed to place your apostrophe and understand which letter you're dropping. First, understand the letter you're dropping, and then move and replace that letter using an apostrophe. I can give you another example for this. We have two words, did and not. If you look at these two words, there is a letter you're allowed to drop. So we are going to start with, we are going to identify the letter we are dropping, and obviously we're going to drop letter O. So we have didn't. Now, you can write the full word, and then if you want to know where you're supposed to insert your apostrophe, look at the letter you have dropped, which is O. Then simply come and replace that O with an apostrophe there. So I believe you have seen, if you look at the way we wrote a comma and the way we are writing apostrophe, you can easily tell the difference. This one flies on top and replaces some letters, while comma is falling below the right next to the last sentence at the lower part of the sentence, the lower line. So hopefully next time moving forward, you'll be able to know and understand how to use a full stop, which we did last lesson. You'll understand how to use a comma. You will understand how to use an apostrophe. Someone might be wondering, can these two be used in a sentence all at once? Yes. For example, here we go. So if you look at this sentence, you can see there is a comma and there is a two apostrophes. So I want you to now go sit down at home and understand how a comma has been used there and how this one has been used, as well as, the apostrophe, the two apostrophes, and also the comma we have there. So that is it for today. I believe you had fun in this lesson. Next time we're going to look at use of colon and semicolon. And again, I've been your teacher, Miss Vivian, at Andalusia Academy, together with Horizon TV, and we are bringing to you virtual learning. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Are you looking for a school that nurtures your child's academic, spiritual, and personal growth? Andalusia Academy International School, where your child's future is our priority. We offer comprehensive education levels: kindergarten, Pearson I Primary Certificate, secondary, and Pearson IGCSE certificates.
We are a school that emphasizes in the deen and dunya. It's integrated in that on the side of Islamic studies, we have Quran, we have Hadith, we have Arabic. And then, of course, in the secular side, we have all the subjects.
We focus on student-centered learning, where we engage our students in different levels. Other than that, we have very innovative teachers who help to cultivate creative thinking, problem solving, which are very, very key skills in our learners, not only in school, but also for their future.
Hello everyone, my name is Aisha Muhammad and I'm a student under Andalusia International School. I've been here for the past 5 years and I'm in year 11 right now, and my experience in this school so far has been amazing.
Admissions are available. Visit us today. We are located in Nairobi, South Sea, Andalusia Academy International School, where your child's future is our priority.